Hey, welcome everyone to the Filipino American Ministry Podcast. I'm your host Henrik and my co-host Aaron, and today we are inviting a guest, Pastor JP Arceno from New Jersey. So he's the pastor of UCBC and he's currently doing his PhD at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. And his research interests are digital theology and understanding the digital next generation, as he calls it, Nexus Gen, in church contexts and for missions. First, we want to get to know more about you. So can you tell us about your story, like how you became a Christian and how God led you to your current church?
Okay, of course, thank you for inviting me. It's a great opportunity to share my story and my passion and the zeal when it comes to missions, evangelism, and of course, pastoring local Filipino American churches in the States. First thing is that I'm a pastor's kid. My dad has been a pastor for 30 years, I think more than 30 years. So usually there's this idea that when you are a pastor's kid, you are somehow also like suppressed with a lot of things. I think it was really a good experience for me. I mean, there are some trials, but I had this opportunity that I had a mentor from a young adult discipleship, but he's focusing on the young adults. But I was youth back then, and because I'm a pastor's kid, I have the privilege to attend the small group for the young adult. Then I attended that one. Then I realized that they were learning about C.S. Lewis, Narnia series, and back
What
then
age was that, sir?
again.
What age were you?
Age was I think I was 10 or 12 around that one.
Wow.
That was 2004. So when I realized that I needed my personal salvation, because I thought like my dad is a pastor, my mom is in the ministry, maybe I can be saved because of their piety. But I realized to walking through that series, Narnia series, that I needed my personal salvation to God. Then I started asking deeper questions from my pastor. We have a senior pastor, Dr. Bong De La Fuente. Then I asked questions. Then I decided to be baptized after having my personal relationship with God. And that was in 2004. And from there, it wasn't easy. There were ups and downs. Like when I was in college and high school, I did a lot of rebellious things. I was thinking, how come some of my friends or even other pastors, whenever they share their stories, they have good testimonies, like, I came from this and now God has transformed me. So I was thinking, how come I don't have that kind of story? So I did crazy like things. I was young, foolish, and and then like 16 years old, 17 years old, after experiencing all those things, I just committed to God and saw that I think I needed to really pursue my personal commitment to my Lord and Savior. So 17 years old, I started preaching in youth sessions like association, convention meetings. I became the president of largest Southern Baptist Association in Metro Manila. Then from there was this confirmation to my church and my friends and even my parents that I would study a pastorate. So that's MDiv. And yeah, I went to Baguio to study my Master's of Divinity. And from there, after finishing my Master's of Divinity, the church nearby in Scout Barrio, they asked me to be their pastor. I pastored the church when I was 21. That was 2014. I think no, that was around 2016 until 2019. Then I came here in Southern Seminary, Louisville, Kentucky, to study THM. And after finishing THM, the church here in New Jersey asked if I can be an interim pastor.
How old were you then, Pastor JP, when you came here?
That was 2019, December 2019. I think I was 25.
Okay, so you already have 4 years of pastoral experience then.
Yeah. But even during time, like when I was 17 up to 19, I was doing youth pastoring at my dad's church. But I don't consider that one. I consider the pastoring when I was in Baguio City. When I started doing an interim pastoral ministry here in New Jersey, they asked me to stay and be their pastor.
And this was the Filipino church.
Yeah, this Filipino. These where Henrik usually speaks also during our camps. So I invited them already twice. If you're just nearby, Aaron, I would also invite you.
You're on demand, Henrik.
Yeah, Pastor JP invites a lot of young people to his family camp. So when were you became the senior pastor there at UCBC? That was recent, right?
Yeah, actually, it will be my first year next month. So I started first week of September as the senior pastor.
Oh, okay. So how has your adjustment been to America so far? Any moments of culture shock?
There's no major culture shock. I mean, of course, in Philippines, we usually watch like international movies, Hollywood. So there are some like stereotypes, but others are expected, others are unexpected. But it's just hard to adjust. It took time for me, like maybe a year or a year and a half. Even still now, I'm still adjusting. I'm not yet too familiar with the culture, but I mean it's doable.
It's really interesting how you ended up here in the US. Was that something that was in your mind, or was that something that you felt was like you were called to? You were just called to come here to prepare through seminary, and then just followed God, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Actually, when I asked my church in Baguio City, I told them I needed to do more equipping. I needed to be equipped, especially when it comes to counseling, because I was single.
Right.
I'm still single, but I was single during that time, and I was young, and the church is so mixed when it comes to generation. Most of them are adults towards seniors, and they have this like family issues, marital issues, and those things I cannot really journey with them because somehow limited when it comes to counseling. So I took counseling courses when I was in Philippines. Then I realized that I needed more. When I came in Kentucky, I shifted from the idea of counseling to where my heart is, and that is history. So I took the major in Baptist history, and I was in Kentucky. And there I realized that I needed more learnings, more studies. So I just told my church in Baguio that I needed to leave and I needed to go to the seminary for 2 years. Then I might come back, but I don't wanna give like also because my goal, my personal goal is to finish a PhD and before coming back to Philippines. But then God has plans. COVID happened.
Right.
A lot of personal issues in life, then the church here in New Jersey called, and that's why I told them, and they were actually inviting me to apply for lead pastoralship, but I told them I cannot do that because my goal is to really study to do PhD. So I can do interim for 6 to 10 months. Then if your offer is still the same and 100%, like I mean even 99%, if the church would ask me the same question after 6 to 10 months, I might consider and pray for it. So I prayed. They after 6 months, so it was June. They considered me again. Then I told them another. Let's just complete another 3 months. Then let me pray. I'll tell my family in the Philippines. I'll tell my girlfriend. I have a long time girlfriend. We've been together for 9 years.
Wow.
Been together for 9 years. So I needed to ask her because I just asked her that can you give me, before I left Philippines, I asked her, can you give me another 2 years to finish the HM, then I'll come back, then we'll get married. I mean that's a plan. But then I asked her if I can stay, and maybe God has another plan for us. Maybe you can come here, or I might go there, come back, then we both come back here in the States. So I'm just allowing God to really pave the path that He had made for me, and I have the principle where God has led you, you need to be faithful in that task, how small or big is it, but you just need to be faithful where God is leading you. I have that kind of principle in my life.
Mhm. Yeah, can you share a little bit about the how it's like to pastor the churches in the Philippines, or your church in the Philippines? How is it compared to your current church?
Yeah.
Because your church is in America, so I'm wondering if there's any cultural differences or different challenges.
First, I think there are differences, but since my church here in the States are mostly first generation first generation Filipino members, they still they still brought their Filipino culture.
Yeah.
Very fresh, even though they've been here for 20 years, 15 years, still very fresh from the Philippines. Very the same in essence. They have adjusted in the States, but their engraved nature is still very Filipino.
Mhm.
Pastoring a Filipino church in Philippines, it's challenging as well. First, of course, resources in the Philippines are very limited. It's not easy to decide on things when it comes to budget and a lot of matters. Everyone is exposed in the idea of Christianity, right? We're very Catholic in the Philippines, so if you're going to ask them, do you know Jesus Christ? They know Jesus Christ. You want to follow Jesus Christ? I want to follow Jesus Christ. They all know who Jesus is, but you need to be more specific when it comes to being a disciple of Christ and to really commit yourself fully, depending to God. While here in the States, it is also the same. They know Jesus Christ. They know who Jesus is. They recognize that God has put them here in the States, but there's this overwhelming presence of resources.
Oh yeah.
Since there's a lack of resources, when I say resources, it's like finances, everything. It includes everything, like education, finances, and all the necessary access to study. While here, very overwhelming. You can get free food, you can get free education,
Right.
so those kind of things, free medical insurance. It's up to you. It's just you. If you're still lazy, there's something wrong with you. There's no reason for you to don't eat 3 meals a day in the States. Everything here is doable. So because of that overwhelming resources, they're also being complacent in a sense. That's how I
Mm.
things. Because they recognize that finally I came here. I have nothing before in the Philippines. Now I have here some things. It's not the same as like Apostle Paul when he both experienced having nothing and having something. His commitment to and zeal to God is the same, while here it's quite different.
So you think they're more complacent in their spiritual lives?
I'm not generalizing, and I'm not nailing it. It is, but what I can sense is when it comes to ministry, like uh, churches in the Philippines, even though you don't have full staff, uh, they would volunteer wholeheartedly.
Fire, kind of.
Yeah, you don't need to pay them. You just need to feed them. Just provide lunch, and they'll commit 24/7.
Right.
Yeah, but here I think there's this idea that even churches, you need to have like personal staff. If that's your staff, that's no longer my that's beyond my jurisdiction as a worker. So if I needed to do something and it needed to be paid uh, hourly or maybe additional volunteer, you need to things here are like always about appointment, right? So you need to do appointment before.
Ahead of time.
Oh, okay. So it's more structured, I guess.
Yeah. Unlike in the Philippines, you can be spontaneous. Like, okay, who's available? Okay, I'll grab you. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this stuff. But here, you need to be like 1 month,
Ahead of time.
or 2 weeks at least.
Right.
Yeah.
We find that I actually here in Houston, where we're doing church planting, we find the same struggle, especially because a lot of our congregation are nurses, over 90%. And so you can't just say, oh, this Saturday we're doing this, because they all have to talk to their managers. They all have to schedule a day off, and they all have to make sure that they're available. So I can see that.
Are there a lot of nurses in New Jersey?
Oh yeah. I think this the healthcare capital, right? New Jersey. We're very near in New York. I'm from New York, so New York is like
Okay.
10 minutes away from us. Hospitals are here. So those who don't want to pay a lot in New York, they would go to New Jersey. So there's a lot of nurses in our church. Yeah, more than 80% are also nurses. Nurses or healthcare workers.
Mm-hmm. How about the American kids? When you deal with them, do you see a difference in culture with them compared to?
I mean, those who were born and raised here, and even those who migrated in a very young age, like 10 years old, they are already they're technically Americans, very Western. There's a lot of big difference.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of limitations. You don't just barge in and just pull them out or talk to them freely. You need to really understand where they are coming from. The sense of having a lot of things like the privileges, and the adults would call it entitlement, but I don't call it entitlement. I would just call it like their environment. They grew up having those things, and we can't blame them as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of differences again. Philippines, you just go to like a certain place, buy some quick fish bowl. They'll be happy with that one. Those kind of snacks like
Oh yeah.
isaw. While here it's quite different. So you need to have like you need to be sure what they needed and they want. You need to ask permission from them as well, and the consent in a lot of things like can do this. Are you available on these dates? Yeah, almost the same. They're like adults. You need to ask for appointment.
Mhm.
Even they're high schoolers, middle schoolers. It's easy for them to ask. You can always request about their time. When it comes to high schoolers, college, yeah, I think that's a hard one.
Right.
Yeah.
As the first generation pastor, do you find it hard to connect with more second generation Filipino Americans?
Uh, it, as of the moment, it's no longer. I'm not in that phase of having difficulties connecting to them. But it took me for the younger ones. When I say younger ones, they're like 16 to 21, 16 to 21. It took me 6 months before I can learn their language.
Mm,
The language is not just the English language, but their cultural language.
right.
Mhm. Like slang.
Yeah, slang. Not slang. I mean, not slang. I mean their ways of life.
Right.
Oh, okay.
While for the younger adults, like 22, the college to working second generation, 22 to 29, took me a year, and still some of them are aloof and very indifferent with me. But the idea when connecting to the next generation, especially me as a first generation Filipino pastor, is the incarnational way of Christ to really step down in their level, understand them, and do their ways. And sometimes adults would see it like very crazy in a sense. Like, Pastor, you're a pastor, why are you doing that? I need to be vulnerable with those kind of things.
Right. Right.
So I studied their language. I watched movies with them. Like I completed anime series. I played with them. They're very digital. That's the that's
So
the,
you're a gamer too?
I play games. I play games with them. They played Valorant, LOL. We started this Lost Ark, like an MMORPG. So I play with them at like every night, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., 11 p.m. sometimes, and I tell them, okay, it's time. Let's just sleep. But we even do not necessarily Bible study, but we do discipleship. Even when we are playing in MMORPGs, we meet a certain dungeon. Okay, we're going to do like a mission. We need to defeat the boss here in the dungeon. So, well, what can we learn here? Leadership, those kind of things. So I took that opportunity to really build up my relationship with them. After 6 months, 10 months, it was fruitful. Now it's not hard for me to connect to them. But the young adults, it's different.
Right.
They're more into sports and like events and activities.
Right. I think you kind of mentioned this a little bit, right? Like some of the first generation would look at you crazy. Are there other pastoral difficulties with first generation, especially knowing that you became their lead pastor at such a young age, and in Filipino culture, usually they would look up more to, and I think you mentioned this too in the Philippines, right? Like they would look up more to people who are older, who are married.
Yeah.
So, like, what difficulties do you have with its older generation, the first generation?
Yeah, when I accepted the pastoral ministry here in the New Jersey, I already had that expectation.
Mm.
They looked down upon. Some people would be might be saying condescending things, but in a loving way. You know how Filipino Christians can what you call can criticize you in a very sweet way. I expected those, yeah, something like that. You're still young, you still need a lot of things to do. They, they thought that they're saying good things. They're saying like, okay, you're still young, you're still going to experience a lot more things. But I believe when it comes to pastoral, it's not about the age, about the experience and knowledge and personal relationship with God. And that's why they called you as a pastor, because they see these things in you, and you're exemplifying the commitment, and then you becoming the model, more like Christ for them. So when I had that idea, I already expected those things, but also at the same time, when it comes to Filipinos, I think even Asia in general, there's a distinct respect when you have educational attainment.
Right.
So I that's how I battle, if I may use the term battle, though it's not a war against it. So I use the educational attainment as a way for them to somehow see and give respect. Though respect is earned, it's very relational. But when you tell them that you studied nursing and you are good in nurse, you have experience in nursing, that's your job. Me, I studied pastoral ministry when I was this age. Even still now, I'm doing pastoral ministry. I studied there. And when you say that, so I'm not saying I'm an expert of the Bible, but I'm saying I've studied this. I know my stuff. So let's do this. You should somehow learn to submit this kind of things when it comes to spiritual matters. But when it comes to architecture, church building, I don't know a lot of things about that. That's why when I came in September, I mean, when they called me to be the pastor, before they called me, I told them that we should learn these things, the elders, the plurality of elders, because many film churches, they only have it's either they're full staff, like senior pastor, associate pastor, youth pastor, church secretary, and Christian education. So like full staff. Many Filipino American churches, they only have one, like just the pastor. Deacons, they have elders, but they don't function the same as the plurality of elders. I did a series of that. I told them the importance of plurality of elders, and we have 4 elders right now. So the first elder focuses on finances because he's good with that. He's an accountant. The second is administrative because he's really good in managing. And the other one is more on the practical side, like visitation, and he knows who the church is. When it comes to teaching, Bible study, preaching, it's me. So with those kind of adjustment, I was able to move forward from being seen as oh, you're so young and you don't know a lot of things. Yes, I don't know a lot of things.
Right.
If you like a problem, if you have a certain issue, if it is like a marriage issue or like a family issue, so the elders will be there, not just me. So there will be like voices of reason coming from the other elders who had been married for 20 years, 30 years.
Right.
You know their staff, and you don't put elders if they're not qualified. So they also have this pastoral heart when it comes to church. So in that way, I was able to manage the big gap in looking me as a very young pastor.
Wow, that I think that was a wise thing that you did in trying to at least have your elders there for things that you're not very good at, like the marriage counseling stuff. But how did you get to that point where you were able to, I mean, what's your process in discipling or getting to the four elders?
To the four elders. Yeah, so again, before I did that, it took me a year of sermon series, preparation, Bible studies. We did small groups, Bible studies. We asked hard questions. And we during that time, the church, before I arrived, the church doesn't have a pastor for more than 3 years or 3 to 4 years. So they are at the same time very determined. Just like I think, just like with all the episodes that you talked about before, young adults, there's this exodus as well of the younger generation, especially the second generation, because they don't feel that they don't have a place in here. There was every time there's an adult conflict between families, they are also part of this collateral damage. They don't have a choice, or they don't have a decision or a voice about it. So adults would decide on something. So they're very determined during the time. So I told them, let's do this. This is biblical. Let's study this. We studied the book of Titus. We did a sermon series, not sermons, like small group series with we were using Right Now Media. So facilitators, we asked hard questions. We made sure that everyone is in sync, not in a uniform way, but more in a united way, even very diverse in some minor issues. Then we decided that, okay, let's amend and ratify this updated version of our Constitution. So starting January this year, we implemented the plurality of elders.
I see. So I think you mentioned a little bit also as well with the conflict of first generation and second generation. I mean, do you have a lot of second generation in your church, and do they have some leadership positions as well, or at least a voice?
So one of our transition is being a young pastor, is I had this heart for the younger ones. So make sure that there's a platform for them. There's a space where they can really express themselves. First, I think the idea of communication is very important for them. Before, they don't have any access when it comes to communication. It's just text or messenger. But young adults, they don't have Facebooks. Those who are born and raised here, they don't have Facebooks. They don't text, right? So they might call you, but I mean, there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to calling, right? So they're very digital. They're always on social media. Snapchat, Instagram is a thing for them. Discord, right? They're always on Discord, even though they're doing nothing. They're on Discord. So I need to go there and be present to that places. So I'm a very digital person. I mean, my background is IT, so I did an associate degree in IT. I do website development, social media, and all those things. So I was able to do that while pastoring at the same time. So I built our own website. We don't have a website before. So I built our website, social media, and all the other digital platforms. So I made sure that the decisions and the discussions being done in our churches are also being sent to this younger generation. And as of the moment, they have their voice, and I believe in the empowerment of them. So I let them decide on we started when the idea of, okay, what's during the night, during the youth sessions, usually it's always like the stereotype of, okay, bring pizza and then youth and young adults will be there, right?
Yeah.
We stopped doing that. I told them, okay, I assigned a certain person, two people actually, especially in our youth. So I think to put it in context, we have the younger generation and the young adults. Okay, the youth and the young adults.
Right.
The youth is also composed of younger young adults. So they are college, they are working, but at the same time they don't wanna get away from this group. But they're also connected with the young adults. But the young adults, most of them, they are not close with the very, very young youth. So we're very strong as of the moment with this youth ministry. We call it Nexus. So we're very strong with the youth ministry. We ask, especially those who are very active and thus have a leadership skill, we ask them like, okay, you decide what food you need or what food you want to eat this certain week. What activities do you want? So we let them decide on those things. I supervise and oversee how things should be done as well, how they can lead in a certain decision. Then we start doing Bible study, but more not in a very lecture way, more in a contextualized version of them. So I'm a teacher, by the way, so my bachelor is secondary education.
Oh, wow.
I have a lot of pedagogical creativities in mind. How to make it like how to make them comprehend Bible study stuff applied in their context. So those kind of things. So it's very hard. If you're going to see it, when I started as an intern pastor, I go to younger generation, to the youth, the young adults. Then suddenly I jump to the adult small group. And then the level, the frequency of your mind is quite different with those things.
Yeah.
Then we do theology class. So for 1 week or 2 weeks, it was really hard for me to jump on this certain level of frequencies when it comes to mind. So sometimes I still bring the way I think when I'm with the younger ones and bring it to during the theology class. It became weird. Right? Sometimes I'm still wearing a very like youth friendly outfit and bring it to the adults or theology class, and they would like me, Pastor, you look so young. You're expected, right? If you're with the adults, or maybe if people are going to introduce you to other people, hey, these are a pastor, and I look like not a pastor, and that's also an awkward situation.
Yeah, I remember last year we met the Filipino church from the other Filipino church, and then their pastor is an old guy, but then you're wearing like a backpack and shorts and sneakers.
You're one of the youth.
And they're like, this is our pastor, and those who are with me, they look more pastor. Right, Kuya JR and Kuya Manny, Francia, so they are like old, they're seniors, and their fit is like pastors.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I think maybe that's probably one of the struggles of trying to pastor two different kinds of cultures. You know, the younger generation, which is really West, and then the first generation, which is more Filipino. But one of the things that you did mention earlier that really piqued my curiosity is digital theology. What do you mean by that, and how can we use that in a Filipino American church context?
Yeah. So digital theology is a research interest for me. Even when I'm still doing my MDiv thesis, it actually started there during my MDiv thesis. But the idea is the intersection of theology and technology, on how it somehow shapes our faith and or maybe our perception of who God is when it comes to authority, on the communication and personal relationship with God. So like when COVID happened, so digital theology is not just a reaction of out of COVID, but it has been there since like 10, 20 years ago. So when we say digital theology, especially during the COVID times, everyone shifted to online worship. Everyone shifted to doing like this, small group Bible study sessions on Zoom, before Skype, before it was other platforms. So there's this idea of authenticity. Is it authentic? Are there? The Bible says you should gather. You should not miss it out. You need to be regularly gathering. Is online gathering an authentic gathering? And for more than a year and two, many churches have been meeting online on Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube broadcasted. So are those meetings, liturgies, and worship, are they authentic? Are they valid? Even doing communion online, those who are like away from you, is his presence very important? When some is it face to face really the medium when it comes to worship? Is worship cannot be done in cyberspaces? Can the Holy Spirit work in and through digital platforms? So those kind of things, that's what we ask. And when applied in missions, how can we be effective in proclaiming Jesus on our social media, or creating softwares and website in a way where we can do missions? So that's digital theology, and applied that one in a church context in Filipino American. Remember I told you a while ago that when it comes to reaching out to the younger generation, they're very digital.
Right.
Their language is digital. So adults would not understand why they always have earphones and 24/7 connected on Discord, or maybe not 24/7, but most of the time they're on Discord talking with their friends, because that is already the sense for them of being in community,
Right.
social interaction. That even if they are not present physically, they are together even virtually. And for them, that is authentic. But for us, as digital immigrants, it's hard for us to fathom those kind of scenarios. And even others would say, is your experience there really effective? Are you really growing in that through that maturity? And I believe yes. So it was my way for me to connect to them, the digital platforms and
For the gaming too, right?
gaming, and we even do virtual reality sessions. We went and we had a field trip doing on Outspace VR. I don't know if you're
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
so those kind of things, and I believe that will be the future.
Right.
The W3, the website, the WW3, the digital internet is going there. More digital, virtual, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, metaverse. So those are the things that I am focusing on, and not trying to be reactionary, but more of being ahead.
Right. I think that's very interesting. Actually, I'm very digital as well. I work online. That's what I do. I make content. But one of the things that we've done here at our church during COVID was we also, we set up an online presence. And have you guys heard of Four Fields? Four Fields?
No.
So it's basically like a strategy for planting churches that is very, very simple. It's very connected to like discussion-based Bible studies. Anyways, so that's something that we set up. We connected this missiology kind of mission strategy with technology, where you can have Bible studies even without a pastor, right? Using discussion-based models. Anyways, long story short, we began to grow like outside of Houston, and we started having lots of communities outside, especially Thailand and the Philippines. And this year, at the end of this year, we're gonna plant a Thai church out of that, right? Because eventually the groups that they started like an English ministry. And then now like they're gonna start a church in Thailand out of this digital ministry. So what I find interesting is these are actually first generation, but in parts of Asia. And I think it's because during COVID, they're all scattered and there's no community. They can't go to church physically, and they live in a place where it's mostly non-Filipinos. So they're in the outskirts. They're scattered, basically Filipino workers. And so, like you said, Pastor JP, it's like that's the way for them to find community. And that's the questions that you've actually asked are the same questions that we asked. Like some people, especially ones who have been in church a lot longer, right, in the West, is they question whether is this a valid form of church? Don't we have to be together? So very, very interesting topic, Pastor JP. I'd love to hear more about this. If you have materials on it, I think it's definitely something that's very important moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let me ask a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Spontaneous. I have the idea. I've been listening to your podcast, and of course, one side of the story is churches are trying to reach out and build spaces for young adults, younger generation. Right, and we are in a sense trying to chase them. Right, so I'm not generalizing all the Filipino American churches. I'm not even isolating our case. I'm just trying to make a more comprehensive approach. Is it always necessary that the church, especially the first generation and even the older ones would reach out to the next generation? That is significant, that is important, that is biblical. I understand that one. But I'm also trying to come up if how we can develop the zeal for them to not wait for something but take an initiative. I heard Aaron and Henry, you both said that you took the initiative of starting the leadership in YA, and for Henrik for the younger ones. So how did it came up with that initiative? How did you all both came up with that initiative? Was there like a certain inspiration or encouragement, or just the thought of people are leaving and I needed to do something?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I was growing a lot in college. So I think the spiritual growth in college really encouraged me. So when I went back to my church, I was thinking, oh, I wish they knew what I knew too, or I wish they were learning what I was learning. So that's what inspired me to teach. And then when I was teaching, I developed a heart for the youth, and that's how I that's how I continued in the youth ministry and also young adult ministry.
Yeah, I think for me, it was more of, like you said, like I saw all my friends leaving and going, and at that point, it was more of like, something needs to be done. And that was in me. But I think part of what also pushed me was this. I had a mentor that I met. He was actually like a pulpit supply. I don't know if you've heard it in one of our podcasts, but he was a pulpit supply. And after he preached the sermon, I went up to him. I didn't even ask his name. For some reason at that time, I was just so hungry to know more, right? Because we didn't really have that much resources at our church, or there wasn't really an outreach or people reaching out to younger adults. I was just so hungry to know more about God. I went up to him and I said, "Hey, do you have a Bible study?" I didn't even ask his name. That's the first thing I asked, and he looked at me like, "Who is this guy?" And he was already retired, like really really old guy. And like, yeah, he gave me his address, and I started going to his house every week, sometimes twice, a couple times a week, and just sitting down with him and talking with him. And I think that really got me on fire to share with others as well. I think that's something that is really important. I know that a lot of the adults, especially even the retired ones, have a lot to share. Like, older Christians have a lot to share to young people. And I think if that mentor-mentee relationship develops, I think that can definitely help. He wasn't telling me what to do. He was just sharing Jesus a lot. And I'm the one always asking, like, should I do this? I'm calling him like, we're going to do Bible study. What do you think of this? Should I ask this? Because, I was really young, and that was my first time leading a Bible study. But I knew that I wanted to share same thing that I'm sharing. So it was more of like that relationship was infectious. Like, his passion, the passion for Jesus was infectious, that I also wanted to share with others.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just the Holy Spirit working in their lives. So we need to pray a lot for the youth and the next generation.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it's almost time for us to end. Thanks, Pastor JP, for your time. Thanks for sharing your story, and hopefully we can reconnect and hear more about what's going on in your current context.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor JP.
Thank you also for inviting me. I've been listening to your podcast, and your ministry is also very impactful. We hope and pray that it will be more. I mean, it's accessible and available, but we just hope and pray that others would also take time to listen. It's important to hear it from the younger ones. I don't see that there's this threat or dichotomy there, but I'm just saying that hearing the voices of the younger ones, like you, Aaron, and Henry, it's very important. We cannot always assume and be pragmatic in a lot of ways and theorize. Always like throwing something and not hitting the goal. So thank you for this ministry, and thank you for opening up also for other churches and other Filipino American pastors.
Thanks again, Pastor JP.
Bye.